Hi everyone. I had a conversation with someone recently about motivation and the kind of inverse relationship between motivation and depression, and just how much motivation, feeling motivated, relies on our environment and our relationship with other people and the way that we engage with others and the way that our actions in the world are kind of, I suppose in a way, validated by others. That's not to say that our sense of self-worth should be reliant on the validation of other people, in as much as other people are kind of accepting of us or feeling like we have to act in a certain way for other people to kind of give us permission to be ourselves. More so that it's easy sometimes to forget that kind of external validation is important to us, and it's important to our self-esteem but also to our motivation in life to get a sense that what we are doing in the world is valuable to others, and that it is kind of worthwhile in the grand scheme of things, in the scheme of our environment, and kind of in this kind of wider world that we're a part of. And I think there's kind of no fully getting away from this. We focus a lot in this community, and rightly so, on self-love and self-worth and being autonomous and just actually kind of releasing a lot of the pressure that we might feel to please other people, to follow other people's kind of rules and ideas about what we should or shouldn't be doing, especially when it comes to religion, spirituality and so on. And there is a lot to be said for that. There is a lot to be said for having self-worth that is not contingent on other people's acceptance of us. But I think this idea of validation, it kind of runs a little bit deeper and it works in a slightly different way that I hadn't really thought about so much overtly. For me personally, what I'm realizing is that I actually find it difficult to feel like my spirituality is worthwhile and to feel motivated and inspired to actually engage in that spiritual practice if I'm not directly talking to other people about that practice. But also, for me anyway, this might not be the case for everyone. You might have your own way of kind of creating that sense of validation in your life and creating that sense of kind of give and take with other people in your life. But for me, if I'm not kind of feeling like I'm contributing to other people's spirituality, if I'm not contributing to other people's inspiration and motivation, ironically enough, to be spiritually active, I find that has a knock-on effect on my own practice. It's this weird kind of chicken and egg experience, but it really does play into this sense of validation. What I've realized is that seeing the impact that my words or my ideas can have on other people, that talking about spirituality can actually have direct impact on other people's lives, somehow that just awakens or reminds me that having a spiritual practice in the first place is actually valuable. And like I say, it kind of becomes almost like a catch-22, like it's this strange circular reasoning, and that for me has been actually really key in finding the motivation to have a practice again. It's tricky because, you know, a lot of the time if I'm not engaged in my own spirituality, I won't have a lot to say here on the channel necessarily. I won't have a lot to be offering, and then if I'm not doing that, then I'm not motivated to have the practice in the first place, and it goes round and round and round. So it can be hard to break. But it has been an important realization for me. And there have been various different factors that have helped me kind of get through this myself and to find that sense of motivation in my life. With regards to everything really, I mean, this is not just restricted to spiritual practice. I've also just been feeling motivated around kind of my career and around creative endeavours and just in all sorts of different areas of my life. But the key thing for me, I think, was in rediscovering my value to other people and rediscovering the fact that my engagement with the world can actually contribute to other people's lives and that other people will actually value what I have to offer. So I'm not sure how this might apply to other people necessarily. I think it will be a little bit different for everyone, but it might be worth thinking about. I think that the ways in which we try to use other people to validate ourselves can kind of go awry sometimes, and that we might be kind of going at it in the wrong way. it might be kind of in shadow for many of us. And if we're looking for that validation in kind of unhealthy ways, that's where it becomes problematic. But I think there's nothing wrong, and it's perfectly natural to feel validated by sensing that we are contributing and sensing that we are being valued by other people through the things that we can offer, through our skills, and through just various different kind of things that we can offer to the world. So it's just a bit of food for thought, I guess, and a kind of an important realization that I've been having recently. And it really does tie into, you know, I was thinking of anxiety as being more of a problem for myself recently than depression, but even though I wouldn't necessarily have scored highly for depression, you know, when I was kind of tested by my doctor and so on, it was anxiety was the issue, and anxiety was the concern. But I can see that, at least relative to my normal state of being and me at my happiest, that I have been relatively depressed for honestly quite a number of years. Really, I think all the way through the PhD, I have not been quite myself. I have struggled to find that motivation. And sitting down to do the PhD was never an easy thing to do. It was never easy to get myself to do that. It was never a pleasurable thing to sit down and work on that, because it just never felt like there was any, I guess, just again, not enough validation for me, not the kind of validation that I need, I suppose. And like I say, I think this will be different for everybody. I think everyone will place I suppose it depends on what values you have. If you value different things, then it'll be more important for those things to be validated by others. And I suppose for me, writing a PhD and engaging in academia, in religious studies academia, that wasn't doing it for me. I wasn't holding it in enough regard to feel like my contributing to that was valuable, and that it was kind of, it wasn't stirring up that motivation in me. So I'm going to leave it there, because those are really all the thoughts that I have at the moment. This is a topic that I might come back to if I have further thoughts on this as time goes on. But it's really just, I'm kind of thinking of it as a way to maybe stir up some conversation. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And I think it's a complicated issue because of, like I said, that question of validation can get kind of sticky, it can get kind of shadowy, but I do think that there's something to be found in that if you can kind of unearth the ways that it can be a positive experience for you rather than a negative. So thanks for watching, but I'll be back next weekend with a longer video, and as always, take care of yourselves, hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you again soon.